So what is the method for conflict resolution?
They will come and hug you. They'll start hugging and they'll do lip smacking. This is in macaques.
Okay.
So lip smacking is something like they'll do that.
Okay.
And
what's the reason?
this is to say that I'm in support of you.
Oh.
I'm calm down.
Wow.
And they'll come and hug you.
We also do that, like the natives. Wow.
We have different ways.
But
of
I didn't
sorting.
know they like poach and eat monkeys.
Yes, they do.
Oh,
they do.
okay.
Yeah. And there's also belief that if this meat can actually reduce infertility. and can act as a aphrodisiac.
Oh. Okay.
So all
Eating
that
monkeys' balls would give fertility.
probably I don't know what. And that way they alert the rest of the group.
Okay.
Yeah. So they have different vocalizations for that.
Very interesting.
So similarly, even they have vocalizations. If there's a dog, they will immediately alert. Oh, males are very protective also. We think that males are they just want to mate or they just want to assert dominance.
They protect and provide.
But they but they also are protective. People are not considerate. And
and it's very difficult to educate people also.
yes, it's very difficult. Oh my God, we have dealt with some really, I don't want to use bad words, but
Okay.
I've dealt with some really difficult people. They're telling me,
No, we can beep it out in the podcast.
no, some people, they think that they know everything. Okay. We're explaining very calmly, sir, please don't feed them. Like, no, it is my right to feed them. I can feed them. I can do anything I want. And we're getting frustrated. So I am dealing with all kinds
Don't
of
you
people.
show your degree? I'm a primatologist.
It doesn't matter.
That doesn't work.
It doesn't work with these people, and we're trying to explain to
There are
them.
different breed of primates
Yes.
too. Just kidding.
Exactly. So the solution is, it's very difficult. We have to work with many different people, not just with conservationists. We have to work with economists, sociologists, anthropologists, biologists.
Politicians.
Yeah, which is very difficult because they only work with their best interests in mind.
Hey guys, welcome to QAT Podcast. This is the second episode. The past episode we talked about crypto, but we have a very special topic to talk about in this episode, and that's gonna be animal adaptation on anthropogenic habitat. To simplify, how wild animals adapt, thrive, and survive in human-made habitats. To talk about this topic, we have a very special guest today. Let's welcome Nagarathna Balakrishna for this amazing podcast, and I'm sure we're going to have amazing conversations. And Nagarathna Balakrishna is doing PhD studies in Ohio State University, and she is specifically studying human-primate interaction and how monkeys, macaques, apes adapt to human settlements. Yeah, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Clinton. I'm
Yeah.
so glad to be here.
Yeah, great.
And thank you for that introduction.
Okay, no. Before we get into this topic deeper, let's set a context. So the context is animal adaptation on anthropogenic habitat. So we are living in Anthropocene era now. So Earth's geographical history, we just entered Anthropocene. What do we mean by that is, as humans, for the first time in Earth's history, we are influencing everything from land, from atmosphere to water. And we have the influence. And we are 7 billion plus people now. And if you consider that number, with I think it would take one person average 20 domestic animals for the survival, maybe through dairy, maybe through meat and other things. So that means 7 into 20 animals. So 140 billion animals. So that means Earth has to sustain 140 non-natural animal breeding. The population growth of humans, as well as the animals required to sustain this humanity, is growing, and they exert a pressure on the wildlife and natural resources. And that's where animal adaptation on human habitat comes into picture. So let's get deeper into this. I'm really glad to have Nagarathna here with me. So let's get this conversation going.
Yes, I'm excited.
And by the way, I'm really glad Naga made here. She's leaving to US tomorrow, and I'm very thankful to her for making a time, and not just time, but also she showed a great excitement for this podcast, and really happy for your excitement.
I should be, because you are wonderful. I mean, I've known you for quite some time, and I mean, I should be honored. I'm very thrilled to be here.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you.
So, to tell you more about Naga, Naga is my college friend. We did our bachelor's together, and she's been a very energetic, very enthusiastic person. In biology terms, you can say high metabolic rate. And she is a good singer, and she used to be very active on causes like teaching children, education, and she has a great love for animals and very good empathy towards her friends and fellow beings. And after bachelor's, we went on separate ways. So I stopped my studies. So she did quite a good job in her education and where she is now. So my question would be, tell us about yourself to our audience who don't know you.
Yeah.
And also take us through your educational journey or your learning experience to the point where you are right now.
Right. Well, that's a really long story. And let me get started with how I got into this field. If I can answer
sure,
that.
Definitely.
So growing up, I've always been interested in animals, and so I remember when I was in second standard, I would tell myself, I would one day want to be a veterinarian doctor or something like that, But I knew, I've always known that I wanted to work with animals, observing and just learning from them, and growing up, I used to watch a lot of Animal Planet. We used to have Animal Planet documentaries playing all the time in the background in our house. And I used to watch a lot of animals. I knew it, from within, that one day I will be in the Amazon. I'll be in some forest, observing animals and, doing something like that. And as years went by, I got into 12th. And I that's when I decided, okay, I'm not taking up any conventional pathway. I'm not going to do engineering. I don't want to do engineering. I don't want to even do doctor. I will take the basic sciences, and that's when that's how I took up biochemistry, botany, zoology for my bachelor's. And that's when I met Clinton. So we shared a class. We had a zoology together, and it was fun.
Yeah,
it was a fun 3 years. And so after that, how I took the usual pathway. So I wanted to do bachelor's, I wanted to do master's, and then get some work experience. So master's also, how I figured out I would do it is it was a very accidental thing. So I had the science magazine in my house, and I was going through it. It was a career oriented magazine, science magazine, and I was going through it, and I read about this Pondicherry University. That's where I did my master's from. It said, it read that it had one of the best courses for ecology and environmental sciences in India. And I just looked it up and I applied. And I had an exam and I just got through it.
There was an entrance exam.
Yeah, there was an entrance exam for that. And 2 years went by actually quite good.
What was your master's?
It was in ecology and environmental sciences. Yeah. And this was 2017 to 2019. And so during my master's, so again, ecology and environmental science, it's a very broad subject, where ecology is something where we're trying to understand the study of interactions between, organisms and within and between themselves and with their abiotic components, right, where they live. And it's a very broad subject, and I had a really good set of friends who were working on very different aspects of wildlife. So one of my few of my good friends are working with reptiles, they're working with birds, and some varied topics they're working on. And I because I was watching Animal Planet, growing up watching Animal Planet, I was always interested in animal behavior, and especially primates, because primates are our ancestors, we actually diverged from primate ancestors.
Our cousins, basically.
Yes. Some people would not like that.
Okay.
But that's that's the truth. So it's a very just to understand how they are, because we get insights into our own behavior, in the way we are, our own evolution. So that's how I really got into primates by masters, by masters. And so I had a couple of, I did my internships in the forest, but this was not, related to primates back then. But I was looking at forest systems, forest growth, regeneration, and all of that.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you had a good understanding on ecology.
Yes. I had a good understanding of ecology. So for my internship, what we did was, I was actually affiliated with an institute from Bangalore, and they have a long-term study going on in KMTR. KMTR is this, the full form is Kalakad Mundanturai Tiger Reserve.
Okay.
It's in Tamil Nadu, in Tirunelveli district. And so I was there for like a few weeks. And what we were trying to do is we laid camera traps.
Wow.
On certain trees. We were specifically looking at Myristica. There is a tree called Myristica bedumi.
Why specifically?
So this was a part of a project which my supervisor, the guide who I was working with, he was trying to monitor the seed predators. The animals that would come to feed on the seed of this tree.
Oh.
And try to see the what kind of animal species, what is the density of the animal that way, and also look at recruitment. Recruitment is so the seeds would fall, right, and then certain seeds will not certain seeds would be fed by animals, and certain seeds would be there and will germinate.
Correct.
And then they grow, right. So I was trying to estimate the saplings, the growth of it. So we had laid certain coordinate plots, 1 meter by 1 meter coordinate plots in the forest.
Okay.
And then we we like measured the height of the saplings and all of that.
And also the density.
The density of that particular tree species saplings. So it was a very short project, and we were looking at it in 2 different habitats. One is a slightly very evergreen, pristine habitat. One is a slightly closer to the road kind of habitat, So yeah, that was a short stint. And that is where I noticed there are these primates. Okay, lion-tailed macaques and Nilgiri langurs and bonnet macaques, right? And lion-tailed macaques, a lot of studies have been done on lion-tailed macaques, okay, because it's this majestic species. It's an endangered species, and so a lot of people work on that. But Nilgiri langur, and I was observing them, and then I also used to read up a little bit of literature on them, and I saw that not a lot of studies have been done. So I got curious. I'm like, okay, I think I have to study
Nilgiri langurs.
Nilgiri langurs. So that's how I decided to do my master's dissertation on Nilgiri langurs.
Okay.
Yeah, but again, it was a very short period, again for 2.5-3 months. But it was behavioral observations. I was doing behavioral observation in a slightly human modified landscape.
Okay.
So when I say human modified, it is because there is a lot of disturbed, it's a disturbed forest. There's eucalyptus plantations, and humans are entering this forest, to collect maybe honey or
timber.
Not timber specifically, but these. So eucalyptus trees are there inside the forest.
Okay.
So they would go to chop that down. So that would make a lot of noise still. It still disturbs the the setting in which these primates are in. So I was trying to see how how their behavior changes, or and because it was such a short span of time, I couldn't have another study site where I could compare. So I was just doing it in one site, but it was still, I made some interesting observations.
Like
I'll come to that. So I saw that they were feeding on Lantana camara. So Lantana camara is this invasive species, plant species, which is actually native to South America. But now it's rampant. In India, it's rampant everywhere. And it's actually a huge threat to forest systems, tropical species, because it's so easy for it to disperse. And it grows very quickly. That's the invasive characteristic of it. And So that's why I observed them. I observed that they were feeding on the leaves of, so which had not been noted earlier. So then I read up some literature, and I found out that lantana camera also has some medicinal properties, like antimicrobial and antifungal properties. And so this is not like with evidence, because this is me thinking, what is the possibility. So I'm trying to make some connections. They're feeding on a plant which is not normally fed by them, and which has certain antimicrobial properties, right? And they're living in a slightly human modified landscape, a human modified region. So I'm trying to connect that, possibly their stress levels are high. Okay, because of, disturbed, and because of stress, your, there is a whole pathway, because, if your stress levels increase, your immunity can suppress for some time, because of which you can be more susceptible to diseases, something like that. So then I was just trying to connect, okay, and this is not like with evidence or something. So,
just observation.
Yeah, this is like, trying to make some connections from reading literature. So then I thought maybe they're feeding on this plant species to cure themselves from certain diseases that they might have acquired because of this pathway. So then I actually read up more.
Okay.
And it actually exists in Africa. Chimpanzees actually feed on a certain plant species, the name which I can't recollect, to actually cure themselves of infections.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So this was mind blowing when I read it. Okay.
This feels like the origin story of Ayurveda.
Yeah. you can say so.
Yeah.
And so this field, it's called zoopharmacognosy. So
wow, what's the term?
Zoopharmacognosy.
Wow.
Yeah. So animals feeding on plants for their medicinal properties. Knowing their for their medicinal properties. So so there is a researcher based from Japan. His name is Dr. Michael Huffman, and he's worked extensively on this, on chimpanzees, and observing them feeding on these plants. And I'll tell you, the evidence is he's collected the fecal samples before them feeding on this plant species, and then after them feeding on the plant species, and he's seen the parasite
number
prevalence
reduction.
is less.
Wow.
So then it is evidence,
very
right?
empirical evidence.
Yes. So that really got me thinking, and that got me interested in that idea and that topic. So when I applied for my PhD, actually, this was what I pitched. This that I want to work on this. How human disturbances can actually have an impact on their physiology, that is stress levels, and then diseases, right? It could possibly lead to disease, increased levels of parasites, and how they're adapting to it. They're trying to learn this probably. And cure themselves of this. So that was what my initial idea was.
You wrote your letter to the...
Yeah, when I applied for my PhD, this was what I was trying to understand, how connecting humans and primates in this kind of setting. And that's how I worked with my current advisor. His name is Dr. McGraw Scott. And we worked together on my SOP, and that's how we had an interview and everything, and I got into PhD.
Wow.
So I'm doing my PhD from the Ohio State University on. But see, my background has always been in like biochemistry, botany, zoology, and then it has been ecology and environmental science. So I've not really delved into human setting, like, the human aspect of it. But now I'm in anthropology.
Wow.
I'm doing my PhD in anthropology. So it was new for me, and it's still new for me. I'm still learning about it. And hopefully by the end of 5 years, I will be an expert. I will call myself an anthropologist.
Yeah, I'm difficult to pronounce anthropologist though.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
But that's the trajectory, and that's how I'm here.
Wonderful. Yes. So, yeah, since you have worked on primates
yes
extensively, that brings to my first question. Does non-human primates
Yes.
have caste system too?
Wow, you're getting into tricky waters
Just
here.
curious,
Yes.
yeah.
So they don't have caste system like that because that is all, I think, a human construct. But they do have hierarchy. So primates, the order primates, they have very different social systems. Like different species have different social systems. So there can be a system where there's only one male, uni-male, multi-female system.
Okay.
Multi-male, multi-female systems.
Okay.
Then there is also monogamous.
What is a uni-male multi-female
Yeah,
system?
I'll give an example.
Okay.
So uni-male langur species. So the species I worked with, Nilgiri langurs,
Okay.
they are uni-male, multi-female system. That means there's only one male in the group and maybe 5 to 6 females.
Wow.
Yes, and he will mate with all of them, and he is basically the dominant male, and he will protect. They'll have a territory, and he'll protect the entry of another male into the group, right? So that is uni-male multi-female system,
Okay.
and there's multi-female multi-male systems.
Wow.
That is in macaques.
Okay.
In bonnet macaque. So in South India we have bonnet macaques. All the monkeys that you guys have seen in the temples or
Correct.
nearby the roads, they're all bonnet macaques in South India.
Okay.
In North India, we have rhesus macaques. They're slightly more aggressive. They're more bigger, so that they have this kind of system.
Multi-female, multi-male.
Multi-male
What
system.
happens in that system?
So it's just that there are many males, right? So what we have to keep in mind in macaques and in multi-male, multi-female system is the females are philopatric. I'll explain to you what
Okay.
philopatric is. So philopatric is the females they're born into a group and they retain in the same group.
Okay.
They don't move out of the group, and they give birth to infants, right? They can be male or female. The females will remain in the group. So
Okay.
they're all related to one another. They're all sisters, cousins, mother, grandmothers. The males, right? After reaching sexual maturity, they will leave the group.
Wow. Okay.
They will disperse to another group. This is to avoid inbreeding.
Yeah. True.
Yes.
Yeah, that
So
was-
we have to avoid inbreeding depression. This is
male moves out of the
yes,
group.
yes. It's a and then so different males will come. So there is a dispersal between males.
Wow.
But there's always going to be multi males. There'll be at least 5 to 6 males in the group, and within them there's hierarchy. So when you asked about caste, this is what I will tell you. So there is ranking.
Okay.
Even within females and males, ranking is there.
Okay.
So infants born to a higher ranking female, they will be higher ranking individuals
Okay.
as they become adult. And this is how is this established is through it's through interactions with their with the other individuals, who they fight with, who provides them support. So it's actually quite interesting, Clinton, because they have some things like they have conflicts within the group. Okay, they have a lot of aggressive interactions within the group because there's going to be competition,
Yes,
right? Like
yes.
for resources, for food, for mates, there's going to be conflict within the group. So, it's very interesting when you start observing them. You will start noticing these details about them. Like there are certain individuals who will get more support from certain individuals.
Politics.
And that way, as that increases, right, their position in the group increases.
True democracy.
Yes,
actually.
yes. There is all that happening. There's coalition. Coalition is who gives support to whom. And there are individuals who will only seek support from certain individuals. They won't seek support from another individual who they might have had certain issues with. All kinds of interactions you will see. So there's a lot of actual politics happening.
And we are not unique, guys.
No, absolutely not. We just assume that we are superior. Or
we have democracy. Democracy is happening.
Yes, and they also know how to conflict resolution. You have to.
So, what is the method for conflict resolution?
They will come and hug you. They'll start hugging and they'll do lip smacking. This is in macaques.
Okay.
So lip smacking is something like They'll do that.
Okay.
And
what's the reason?
this is to say that I'm in support of you.
Oh.
I'm, calm down.
Wow.
And they'll come and hug you.
We also do that, like the natives. Wow.
We have different ways, but
Yeah.
you actually get to see this. When I'm observing these macaques, we get to see them do
Wow,
this.
so similar, right?
Yeah, and they'll hug you, and they'll hug you, they'll hold you, and then they'll do that lip smacking, which I just did.
Yeah.
And that is one way, and then if they're very angry, they have all kinds of they're very expressive. Macaques are one of the most expressive species.
They don't hide anything.
No, and it's very evident on their faces. Like they'll have all kinds of expressions. If they're very angry, they'll actually have raise eyebrow. They'll do that, like that. They'll give open mouth threats to other individuals. Yeah, so there is a lot of.
And which is another one? You said
Langurs.
Unimale, multi-female system, multi-male, multi-female system, and there's another system.
Yeah, monogamous.
Monogamous.
It's not. Yeah, so when I say monogamous, so we humans think we are monogamous, right? Like we try to maintain a
correct, in a social setting.
Yeah, monogamous relationship, which we have to work for. So similarly, in the animal kingdom, certain species are monogamous. Like at least for that breeding season, at least.
Correct.
So gibbons. In India, we have Hulok gibbons, Western and Eastern Hulok gibbons. It's in the northeast, in Assam, in certain regions of northeast region. So they form pair bonds. So there's one male, one female.
Okay.
And they'll have an infant, and he'll be the male will be there with the female
for a long time.
For a very long time. And then they could also
Divorce.
split. Yeah, the divorce can happen. And then, but this is monogamous. This would be almost equal to monogamous.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about in depth of your present work, like in your
Right.
PhD work. Like what do you do deeply, and how is your work helping us as a citizens of this country
Right.
and our like member of the state?
Right. Okay, so before I answer those questions, I think it's important to understand why I'm doing this in the first place. Like, why I'm doing primatology, why we have to conserve primates. So, primates are important for our ecosystem, because they do provide a lot of ecosystem functioning. They carry seed dispersal, and they maintain the forests, because they feed on leaves, they feed on the fruits, they feed on the seeds, right? Or they disperse seeds, right? So they maintain the structure of the forests. Okay, and that's why I think that's one important reason to conserve them, and also because we're so biologically related to them, closely related to them, physiologically, phylogenetically, very closely related. So we get a lot of insights about our own behavior, evolution, from them, right? So that's why I think that's why I do this, and I'm very passionate about this. And so now getting back to what exactly I'm doing, right? So at this present state, human disturbances, as your introduction was about, human anthropogenic disturbances, like because of growing human population at present 7.8 billion.
Somewhere.
Yeah, and it's only increasing, right? It's
Yeah.
only going to increase. And in a country like India, where now we have exceeded,
Correct.
we have surpassed China even.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be a lot of human population. And there's also, India is a biodiverse nation, right? So many species. And we have 3 hotspots.
3 hotspots.
yeah.
Where are the hotspots?
Western Ghats, the Trans-Himalayan,
Okay.
and then the Northeast
Northeast,
region.
okay.
Right? So Western Ghats, that's where I'm going to be working in. It's a biodiverse region, right? But what we have to also think about is there are humans living in the forest fringes, right? Where a lot of wildlife exists, right? And wildlife require a lot of space to move about, to get resources. In fact, if you think about it, elephants, they travel more than 100 kilometers sometimes in a day or in a week.
Wow. Okay.
Just to get water, food. And it's a matrilineal system. Elephants are matrilineal. The grandmother is there. There is the mother, her calves. They're all traveling together.
Wow.
And they travel so many kilometers in a day. And in India, where we are also trying to develop, we're developing, right?
Correct.
And we're so now I would get into a little bit of political.
Yeah,
but,
no problem. Yeah, of course. And also, as you said, first of all, India's population is growing.
Yes.
And India is a very rich country in terms of biodiversity.
Yeah.
Another thing is, when you said politics, because of current geopolitical pressures,
Yes.
India has a special position in the world where people in the Western countries are looking for manufacturing sectors in India.
Yeah.
So that requires a lot of space, a lot of
Right.
empty space.
Right.
I think we're going to create more disturbances.
Yeah.
And I think this topic is going to be important more than ever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's a very tricky, it's a complex issue, So there are a lot of these people who live in these forest fringes. They depend on agriculture. Their source of income is through agriculture, right? And we can't blame them when they interact with wildlife, and wildlife lives are lost in both wildlife as well as human. So, but the media portrays it such that people there are to be blamed. But it's actually, if you look at it, it's from the government. In a very larger view, the policies, how it affects people, how it affects wildlife, right?
Correct.
It plays a huge role. So now I'm looking at how my work is going to look at specifically how. So it's a field called ethnoprimatology. Ethnoprimatology.
Okay, what is that?
Yes. So this is where the human and primate interface, that's the interface, how both of them interact with one another and how both of them have an impact on one another, right? So now primates exist, and we humans, we have certain beliefs and views on primates, and this comes from where? From religious beliefs, right? Cultural values and that influences our perceptions.
Correct.
And attitudes towards wildlife in general. Correct. And I'm looking at primates, right? And so it's very deep-rooted. It's very interlaced with our cultural values.
When we compare that to Western countries, we are doing little bit better because, as you said, religion-wise, we... in India, people worship wildlife,
yes,
right? So
yes.
Does that have anything to do with interaction?
Yes, actually, it has a lot to do with interactions.
Okay.
We'll not get to the details of it, but in the sense, now in Hinduism, right? In Hinduism, we believe that monkey is it's a form of God, right?
Yeah.
And that's how people feed them. In temples, people feed them. But that interaction, right, it has negative consequences. It can lead to negative consequences in the sense they will feed them. They might have very good intentions, right? But then the monkeys learn, okay, now I need more food. And these human foods are of high calorific value for them. Because it's easy access, right? They don't have to go in search of food into the forest, go look for that fruit. No. They can just stand in front of the road or in temples and just stand there and people will feed them. And because of which competition increases within the group and then aggression increases. If aggression increases within the group, they can also direct it towards us. Right? That's how things escalate. From there it escalates and then they bite. They will tend to bite and then people will throw stones. People will try to kill them. So this is how it escalates.
Very complex.
Very complex. Very complex. So it comes from a place of, you could say, good intentions, because of our beliefs, our cultural values and religious beliefs, right? And not just with Hindu, even Buddhism, all different kinds of religious values, religious beliefs, cultural values impact our attitudes and perceptions towards wildlife. So I am trying to understand how all of that impacts the way we view them. So in certain regions in India, hunting still occurs, poaching still occurs, right? For meat, for consumption. And so there is also certain belief that if you consume the meat of this primate,
No, they poach the monkeys.
yes,
Oh,
they hunt them.
okay.
So even though Wildlife Protection Act of 1972 is, it's been in place, and since then there has been a reduction in poaching, but it still persists in
But I
certain.
didn't know they like poach and eat monkeys.
Yes, they do.
Oh,
They do.
okay.
Yeah. And there's also belief that if this meat can actually reduce infertility, and can act as a aphrodisiac.
Oh, okay.
So all
Eating
that
monkeys' balls would give fertility up.
probably, I don't know what. So that's the thing. This exists in certain part of the countries. So that is there. And then how do agricultural growing of paddy fields, growing of different agricultural crops, how is that affecting primate abundances, their distribution? And also humans are actively going into the forest to cut down non-timber forest products, not timber but non-timber, right? And these trees are of important food resources for these primates. So then it's going to be a problem, right? Because they depend on these forests. So I am trying to understand that interface, how humans are viewing primates. They consume them, and then how they are getting, how they are adjusting to this, how they are spatially distributing themselves. How are they adapting physiologically? What is their stress levels? So that is what I want to work with. I want to work on, try to understand their physiology, change in if there is a high rate of disease in them. So that's what I want to be looking at.
Which specific species of macaque?
No, so there are 3 different species in where I want to work in Karnataka, in Sirsi Honnava region.
Okay.
And there all of these things exist. Like there's hunting.
Okay.
There's a lot of agricultural, plantations are it's happening, and there's also people are using the forest, right? And there's lion-tailed macaque, Hanuman langur, and bonnet macaques. 3 different species are there. So I'm not going to specifically look at a species yet.
Level. Okay.
I will see if I can identify how it affects all of them in general, and then maybe select a group of one species for extensive study. Yeah.
And there are different species of monkeys there.
Yeah.
So, and there is a competition for like resources, food, like that. Isn't there a quarrel between interspecies monkeys, like lion-tailed macaque fighting with the langurs? Or
right. So they occupy different niches.
Okay.
Within the so this is niche is an ecological term. Niche is basically the position, not just physical space, but the position the species occupies within the ecosystem.
Okay.
Right. So that includes interaction with the different species. In terms of it can be competition, predation, symbiotic relationship, and also interaction with abiotic components. So that is where the individual the species exists. Okay. So lion-tailed macaques, they live in slightly they occupy a different niche. They use the higher canopies of the forest. Hanuman langurs are in slightly different elevations.
Okay.
And bonnet macaques also, their bonnet macaques are almost spread everywhere. So there's no competition per se between them, because when they enter the region, certain part of the forest, the other species would probably leave, and they're not exactly feeding on the same species of plant. So so lion-tailed macaques are frugivores. They feed on fruits. Hanuman langurs are folivores. They feed on leaves. And bonnet macaques, they feed on almost everything.
Yeah, just like humans.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's how there's not a lot of competition between them. Yeah.
And another question is, this field is very complex, as you said, like too many factors.
Yes.
Human emotion, animal behavior, and abiotic components, so many variations.
Yes. Yeah.
And this is a field of science. How do you carry out scientific methodologies? I mean, what is your research like methodology to
Right.
study human primate. Let's get a bit nerdy here.
Yes, sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Like you can tell us about like data collection or maybe systemic analysis.
Yeah.
Like how do you go about it?
Right. So there are two ways of looking at it. So there is a quantitative approach and a qualitative approach.
Okay.
So in recent times, in primatology, so this field of study of primates is primatology, right? There has been a increased focus on trying to get qualitative, qualitative methods, to get into the subject into the field. So we're trying to get very descriptive along with trying to do a very systematic data collection. So in that way we get very holistic idea of the what we're trying to study. So when I'm saying qualitative, it is you go to a place, okay, and I want to talk to people there. I can do interviews, I can have a conversation with them, and I can write it all down, right? So this becomes very it's known as ethnography. This is a scientific study of getting information from people about their attitudes, about their beliefs, right? So I can just talk to them and I can write it down. So this is a very conversational style. And then there are interviews, there are surveys. This is a very qualitative approach.
Okay.
And in quantitative, it becomes very hypothesis driven. So you have an objective in mind. So now I want to see how this primate, it is, the behavior is varying in this habitat from one habitat to another habitat. So then I will have a hypothesis that, okay, in this habitat, maybe in a slightly disturbed habitat, they may be ranging. So their behavior is, a ranging behavior is one of their behaviors. So that is how much do they move, locomotion, right? My hypothesis is that in a very disturbed habitat, their locomotion is much, the time they spend in locomotion is higher than when they're in a less disturbed habitat. So there is a hypothesis.
Okay.
And then based on the hypothesis, there are different methods that you can follow, like what you want to do. So in behavioral, in behavioral data collection, in field behavior, what we do is there are methodologies like scan sample, focal sampling. So now this is getting into
no, go on.
Yeah.
I love it.
So there is the scan sampling, and there's focal sampling, and there's also ad libitum.
Ad libitum.
Ad libitum.
Okay.
So I'll tell you scan sampling, how it works. So if you want to see how the group, the group activity, right? It varies throughout the day or throughout a season. Then you'll do scan sampling. So where you're going to follow a group for say 5 minutes.
Okay.
And then you observe everything that each individual does instantly within that 5 minutes. So what they're feeding on, at what height of the tree they are in, who they're interacting with, everything you will note down detailed. Okay, this is scan sampling. And then focal sampling is where you're going to follow an individual for say 10 minutes or 15 minutes, again based on what you need, what your question is, and then you'll observe everything that individual is doing with timestamps.
Okay.
So if that individual is feeding, it's feeding, and you're going to start say at 9 a.m. it starts feeding, and then stops at 9 minute 20 seconds. And then it does something immediately after that, like say it's looking at someone else for some time. You're going to write down everything that it does with the time, with the duration.
Okay. What is the distance should the observer should maintain when following?
Yeah, it should at least be 5 to 8 meters.
Okay.
And that is like the minimum distance that you should have. This is to avoid any transmission of diseases or you should not have any physical contact with the.
And another question is, wouldn't they act differently when they see the human presence?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, because so what we do in the field is, before we do any form of data collection, we go to the field, we identify the group that we want to work with, right? Then we just follow them for maybe say 2 to 3 weeks without doing any data collection. We're just observing them, and they will initially run away from you. They will actually, so certain species are more shy than others. Like I said, macaques are very habituated to human presence. So mostly, when you go to them, when you're near them, like 5 to 8 meters, they would not flee. They would not show any change in behavior. They would be fine with your presence. But langurs, on the other hand, they're very shy individuals. So they'll see you and they'll just jump to a different tree, or they'll hide. So then it becomes very difficult to collect data, right? So what you have to do is you have to habituate them. So
How?
So you have to follow them for 2 to 3 weeks straight. Again, depending on the species. Some species, I told you, they're more shy. So you have to spend more time just observing and following them throughout the day.
They don't mind with the human presence
After
habituation.
that, yeah. So then you can collect data. Then their behavior is not influenced by your presence. So then it's not biased.
Okay.
Right. So you have to do this. So even for me, during my masters, I had to follow the group for like 3 weeks straight. I didn't collect any data, but I was just observing them.
Just habituating them.
Yeah, I have to follow them from 6 a.m. to 6 a.m.
Whoa.
inside the forest.
Okay.
Just following them. They will keep running. They will keep fleeing. That might be causing them stress. But then I'm not going to startle them. I'm just following them slowly, not making any noise. I'm just like observing where they're going, what they're doing. I'm just following them.
Okay.
So then they kind of get used to my presence, and then I think they feel that, okay, this is harmless, and now I can go about doing my own stuff.
Okay. Which forest you're talking about?
So this was in KMTR in Tamil Nadu.
Tamil Nadu.
Yeah.
Weren't you afraid of other animals like king cobras or that in the forest? You are like 12 hours from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Yeah.
It's a long time in the forest.
Yeah.
So the probability of you encountering another wild animal is quite more. So weren't you scared, or were you prepared with
So as field biologists, we're in the broad category of field biologists. Okay, we have a lot of challenges. you know.
Okay.
So the first thing is leech.
Oh, okay.
In the forest, there's going to be so many leeches.
Yeah.
So we have to be prepared with that. We have to have all these socks and all that.
What do you do for leeches?
So because we spend so much time in the forest, right? Then too many can crawl up. They can crawl up to all parts of our body, right?
Correct.
So then we have this, leech socks.
Okay.
You get it on Amazon, apparently. So I don't have it yet. So it's a very long sock still here, and over which you can wear your shoes and all. So it won't be able to go in anywhere. It's
How
covered.
come? It's so long, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's long. It's covering your entire, till here, till your knee.
Okay.
But yeah, I haven't worn it. I haven't bought it. What I do, so there's a solanum species. Solanum is potato family.
Okay.
If I'm not wrong, I hope any botanist is not going to
forgive her if she is wrong.
Forgive me for that. But I think I'm mostly right.
Yeah.
But I can.
Solanaceae, right?
Solanaceae. Solanaceae family is potato. I think so. Yeah.
Even chili is Solanaceae,
I'm not sure.
Yeah, forgive me even if I'm wrong. Yeah. Yeah, go on.
But yeah, Solanum, there is a plant, I do not know the species. It's this yellow fruited, it grows wildly, okay, in the forest floor and edges. You have to break it open, remove the seeds, and apply the paste on your feet.
Oh, okay.
That actually deters the leeches. Yes. So I was told this by a local person. So very interesting.
It worked.
Yeah, it works. Very less, maybe 1 or 2 leeches by the end of the day. So that is a great thing. Then I would have otherwise 10 crawling at a time. So
True.
So that was a very it was a nice thing. So and these local people, they work in the tea estates nearby. So they know they are constantly in the field, right? In the
yeah. What other challenges are apart from leaves?
Yeah. So so there's going to be a lot of deer. So I'll tell you one story. So this will be story time.
Yeah.
Okay.
True.
So one time, this is a little bit silly also. It can be very silly. People in my field would say this is a very stupid thing to do. But I had to go because, when I was in KMTR doing my field work, I had a field assistant with me. So this person, he knows the forest well. Like he's, he knows the tree species. He knows, he knows the pathways. He knows all that. Right. So he is usually with me from day to, till from the morning till beginning, till the end of the day. But that day he told me, madam, I cannot come. You go, I'll come later, maybe after 10 o'clock. But I had to be in the field by 6. But that day I left at 6, and my field from where I was staying, my accommodation was very close, like just a 10-minute walk. So I left at 6 and see, these places are in very high altitudes, right? So it's in a hilly region to almost 1,500 meters ASL above sea level. So it's also very misty, and dawn is just about to break, so it's still dark. Okay. And I'm already inside the forest.
It's cold also.
It's very cold.
Wow.
It's misty.
Wow.
And I still can't see things very clearly. I've just gone earlier. Yeah. And I'm going into the forest. So I'll describe how my the site was, where this group that specifically I was following was living in. So I enter the forest, and then I have to go downhill.
Okay.
I have to go like downhill, some at least 100 meters down. And then there's a stream. There's a stream flowing. And then I have to cross that. I have to go up again.
Okay.
I have to go up similar. It's another hill, okay? And on the other side, I have to walk a little bit more up. And that's where the group is usually. So I'm on the other side now. And I'm trying to look up. I'm, craning my neck, trying to look up for the group. And I can't find them.
Okay.
And now it's just, the sun is, just slightly above, and the light is shining. There's a bit of light.
It's passing through the leaves.
Yeah, the Tyndall effect, okay. and then, there's, the pathway, there's a pathway, right? So I'm walking on the pathway and I can see cow dung. Sorry for that mistake. It's not cow dung. Elephant dung.
Okay.
Okay. And elephant dung is, it's really
big,
fibrous.
Wow,
it's this, huge this thing, and it's fresh.
Oh, it's nearby.
Yeah, it's fresh. So I just take 2 steps ahead, and it's a turning. Okay, this is a turning now, and then I see the elephant the back of the elephant, and I bolt. I run back. So I'll tell you why this is. Why this is
Stupid decision.
Yeah, because you have to, if you encounter an elephant, it's best to run away.
Okay.
Because elephants, if they're in a herd, and usually it's a mother and her calf, and there are her siblings, right, aunts, and there are other. They're very protective of their calves. Very. The mother will go to any extent. She'll actually, crush you.
And even the gestation period is 2 years, right?
Yes. So they're very protective. And they can chase you down and they can kill you.
Oof.
Yeah. To that extent. If they feel very threatened. Right. So there's a distinct smell. So anyone out there who wants to get into like field biology, you will understand, these signs. Like if there's an elephant nearby, there's a very distinct smell.
Okay.
Very distinct smell, it's easily distinguishable.
From how long? Like how from what distance you can distinguish the smell from the dung?
No, this is not from the dung. This is the presence of the elephant.
Elephant itself.
Yeah. Not too far away also, but you'll get to know. It's very distinct smell. So I just ran. I just looked at it was a back.
Just a back.
The grey body and the tail.
This was your instinct, like flight and fight.
Yes,
response,
exactly.
Right?
I just turned and I have like a lot of equipments. Okay, I have my binocs, I have my camera, I have my notebook, and everything. I just ran down. It's downhill now.
Oh God!
And I fell, and it was so I couldn't. And I crossed to the other side of the hill, and that's when I was able to like fully breathe.
Okay.
And then I called my assistant up. I'm like, I'm not going back to the field today. You don't have to come. It's an off for you.
Did the elephant notice you falling?
No, I do not know. I just bolted. But so after that, I was able to finally calm down, and I realized it was just one individual. I remember I remember I have the visual, right? It was just one individual, and it didn't look like it was a big individual. It didn't look like an adult. I felt it was like a juvenile, maybe. So I didn't have to be too scared about it.
Okay.
But I should
but
still
it was your
be
first
prepared.
encounter.
Yeah.
Why do you think you said like you may sound stupid?
Yeah,
Why is
because
that?
I should not go alone into the forest.
Oh, that is a stupid decision.
Yeah,
you meant.
we should
Okay.
not. You should always have two individuals. When you're doing field work, have two individuals. Have another individual with you.
Correct.
Because they'll always be able to alert you of anything. So if there can be leopards, there can be dholes, wild dogs.
Oh,
Wild
that's
dogs,
pretty.
yeah.
They come in herd, right?
Yes,
Pretty dangerous.
packs. They're
Yeah.
like 12, 14, I think more than that.
Oh.
And so that can be
Wow.
yeah.
Have you encountered a dhole?
That's
Okay,
another
we'll
story.
talk about that later. Wow, this is gonna be interesting.
I didn't encounter it directly.
But we'll talk about this later. Yeah. But right now we'll continue on
The methodology.
methodology. You mentioned as the snap. Not is that
Scan sampling.
scan sampling
and focal.
and
you're asking about habituation.
habituation.
Right? Yeah. So we have to only habituate. If you're doing behavioral, observations, you have to habituate them.
Okay.
So you can do other methods. Okay, you can actually collect video footage of primates if that's possible, and then observe the video footage and record the behavior. Yeah.
And tell us about your unique observation or your discoveries that you have, like documented from your journey
So
about primates.
okay, so there was this one time. So Nilgiri langurs. The I think the conceived notion about Nilgiri langurs is they're very lethargic. They're just sleeping all the time. There's not a lot of interactions. But I've noticed this one thing. So Nilgiri langurs, the females, right, adult females, what they do is they will transfer their infants to another female.
Okay.
Okay. So they're lactating. They're lactating during the one, for 1 year or something, they'll be lactating. But during that time, what they do is when they want to feed, when they want to go around their range to go feed for themselves, sometimes what they do is they'll transfer the infant to another female who is not, who hasn't given birth. She may be a subadult female. Okay. And even they very willingly, excitedly actually take the babies.
Wow.
They are very interested in babies.
This is interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I will tell, even when it comes to macaques, also very interesting behaviors. But I noticed this she had transferred. Okay, so I had named these individuals. I had given them names like numbered individuals. Okay. F3, F1, not interesting. This is when I was doing in 2019.
You must be having some reason for that. F1, F2.
Yeah, so I mean, there've been debates. Okay, like this is before. Like you should not give names to the study species that you're working with. Then you grow emotions or attachment.
Okay.
And some people say just give numbers, and you can you have to just be able to identify them.
Correct.
Right. The idea is to identify the individual based on characteristics, certain characteristics, and not mess up with that, because you're collecting behavior, right? You cannot have one behavior of one individual and mess it up with another individual, right? I can't say you're Clinton at one time and then call you by another name another time and then observe you.
How you guys distinguish different individuals? I mean, I don't think I can do that. Like F1, okay, you are F1, and like how you distinguish?
Yeah,
like what are the facial characteristics?
Yeah. So with Nilgiri langurs, the facial becomes a little difficult because they're black faced. They're darker here, and they have a golden mane. So you can't really see if there's any mark on their face. Not very easily identifiable. So what I did is with the tail characteristics.
Okay.
Because luckily for me, the group. So it was only 9-membered individual. So there's only one male, and males are usually big, and they have large canines, and they're very vocal. They have they make these sounds, hoo sounds in the mornings, or to establish their territory. And the females in this group, there was only 3 adult females. They were carrying infants, and 2 subadult females. Like they were not fully mature. Correct. Like they were not carrying infant. They were not carrying an infant. They were not even pregnant. And then so that is one. And 3 of the mothers had infants. So that's 3, 6, and then 2 subadult females, 8, and then male. So there was total 9 individuals. And each of those adult females, size variations, size variation and the infant. So I named F1. So she was the older female. She had an infant who was bigger in size. Okay. And then F2, again, a little smaller infant. And she had a certain different tail characteristics. Like it was bent in a certain angle, crooked, or So I was distinguishing based on tail characteristics and the infants that they were carrying. And the 2 subadult females also one had a little shorter tail, one had variations in tail features. So that's how I was distinguishing langurs. But with macaques, with other primates, you can facial characteristics. With macaques, it's very evident.
Okay.
You can see. So especially macaques. I worked with macaques in Tenmala in Kerala, in the urban setting, in slightly in the village. So they were there, out there. So we were observing them very closely, and facial characteristics, coloration, marks on the face, and then they
wrinkles.
might have
wrinkles.
Yeah, wrinkles, and also tail, even the nipples.
What's it?
Yeah, even the shape of the nipple, the color of the nipple, and then deformations. Some might not have limbs. They don't have ears. One of the ears is torn. So all of these different physical characteristics, we make a note of it, and then we give them names and we identify them. So we had. So when I was working in Tenmala, we had different names. So we had a female called Bella.
Okay.
We had different names. Norma, Kim, Star Wars. Certain Star Wars names were given to these individuals. That was not my idea. My PI's idea. So we give names. But for when I was doing my master's work, I did not give them names because of that debate, and it was going in my mind. So let me not give them names. Let me just give them F was because it's a female, and F1, 2, 3 based on the characteristics. So that's how I would identify and then follow them and observe and write down
this
their
is one
behavior.
observation. So tell us about
but I was talking to you about the interesting behavior that I
your observation, your unique observations about monkeys.
Yes. So
one is transferring the baby to the neighboring.
As they were transferring, so the mother came back to get her baby now. So she wants to have a free time basically without the baby, So, even humans have the tendency, right?
Yeah,
like
babysitter.
Babysitter. So it's like that. And so she would go about going to, feed, come back, and she's trying to collect the baby back from her. So this one time what happened is, as the other female was giving the baby back, she dropped the baby down from 30 feet, 30 meters. And I thought the mother would just give up, or, she would, or no one else would be interested to see what happened, or no one else would be interested to go collect the baby. But the mother immediately ran down and to collect the baby, and everyone else were like, everyone, including the male, was all watching cautiously whether the baby is fine or not. And they didn't move. They were all interested in this.
What happened later?
Yeah, and I thought the baby probably might have died, or but no, she got the baby, and then she immediately hugged, and there was this, I don't know, very brief moment of, maybe this is a very anthropomorphic thing that I am attributing to them, that she consoled, or she's patting, and then she immediately went to the side of the group, and she isolated herself from the group, and
she needed space.
Yeah,
even
like
they have space concept. Okay.
and then when the rest of the group, they noticed that she was fine, the baby was fine, then they went on about doing their stuff.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and there are many interesting behaviors here. In macaques especially. Macaques, you will find very funny
Okay,
behavior.
give us like top 5, like
that's very hard, like.
Yeah. What kind of really intrigued you? Wow.
So macaques have very unique personalities. Like you would almost say, like humans have personalities, right? Where everyone is different, right? They have that, everyone is very different. And again, I tell you, based on the hierarchy,
How that, not just physically, but also behaviorally.
Yeah, behaviorally. Certain individuals.
What different behaviors we can expect in monkeys?
So, certain females are more docile. They based on their ranking, certain individuals are higher ranking. Certain are very lower ranking. The lower ranking individuals are very to themselves. They would not interact with anyone. They're very, very submissive, right? And there are these high-ranking females, who threaten everyone. In fact, they will even seek attention from males, and they actively go towards male, and they will actually almost fight with the lower-ranking females. They would not let them come near them, and they would fight. And there are some individuals who are very, because they know that they're not higher ranking females. What they do is they will try all ways to get attention.
How?
Attention from males. They will.
What strategies?
They will scream.
They don't have makeups, right?
No, no. But they will scream. They will. So so what macaques do is they will scream and they'll start teeth chattering. So there are a lot of, they're like, they do that.
Wow.
And, they will look. So there's this female, called Mars. Okay. So she was someone who my PI would say that she would like go to all males, get their attention, and she would, basically she was like, she wanted to be the center of attraction, and that's one thing. And then there are females who would, so if there's someone they don't like, and then they want to get attention from someone, so they will look at that individual, and then she will direct, their attention to the other individual who they do not like, and make these expressions of teeth chattering, as I told you, so that the other individual will support her and go and attack the other individual.
Politics.
Yeah.
Nice.
And they do it all with gestural communication, with their facial expression, the sounds, vocalization. They have very range of behaviors that they show.
That's one thing. Yeah, this is interesting. Which are other features?
And then their ability to. So, what happens is, in a very human setting, they will try to steal food from humans. In shops, they enter the shops and they'll steal food, right? If it's a female who's stolen the food, and the male will come, she will immediately release the food. Yeah. Because she doesn't want to get into bad terms with the male.
Okay.
Yeah. And because the male is aggressive also, right? So she would immediately let go.
So it's patriarchy system.
Yeah. There is. There is actually, it's very evident, because this could also almost sound like harassment,
Okay.
The males would just come. He would flip her, he would want to see if she's in heat or something. He would just, look at her back and forcefully, and then forcefully also mate. So, a lot of things happen. But, and there's a lot of, play behavior with macaques.
Yeah, play behavior, I'm really interested. Like, I've seen videos where the monkey is playing with tiger tails and jumping and, very fun they are.
Yeah, they do all kinds of things. And also, this is not just with macaques. I think vervet monkeys. Vervet monkeys are found in Africa.
Okay.
So they're very good with vocalizations. So they get to know based on what predator is coming. If it's a tiger, if it's a snake, if it's a eagle in the sky, they make different vocalizations for different predators. And that way they alert the rest of the group.
Okay.
Yeah. So they have different vocalizations for that.
Very interesting.
So similarly, even they have vocalizations. If there's a dog, they will immediately alert. Oh, males are very protective also, We think that males are, they just want to mate, or they just want to assert dominance.
They protect and provide.
But they but they also are protective. And see, okay, so with macaques, interesting. I told you, there's a multi-male, multi-female system. So some males, see, multiple males will mate with a female. Okay, in that breeding period, right? In her, when she's in estrus. So a male does not know if he has sired the infant or not. Like if he's the father of the infant or not.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't know.
Okay.
So sometimes more than one male will try to act like.
Okay.
Yeah.
They don't know who the father is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably.
And also, right now I got more curious.
Yeah.
On, I said there is one male, many females.
Yes.
How does that male handles the wives?
Yes.
It's pretty difficult, right?
Good question. Very good question. So now we're getting into social systems.
Okay.
It's a very broad topic. But I'll tell you about langurs.
Okay.
So in langurs, what happens is males, I told you, males will all the time. If there's a male born into that family, into that group, after reaching sexual maturity, he will leave the group.
Okay.
Because he doesn't want to compete with that one male, right? That's in the group. So they leave the group and they form an all-male band. So in Nilgiri langurs, they have this all-male gang.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah. It's very funny. And so this all-male group, what they do is they'll have a leader among themselves. Because they're all of varying age, okay, of sexual maturity. They've attained sexual maturity, but they may be all of varying age group, okay? And there'll be one probably leader in that. What he will do is, he will try to look for a group and overthrow that male. Basically, kick the other male out of the group.
Okay.
And they'll fight for that. And then the one who has taken over the group now, he will kill the infants of the male. All the infants that the previous male has sired.
Destroy the bloodline.
Yes, so that the females will immediately start getting into cycle. Getting into the estrous cycle, so that they start releasing eggs, so he can mate with them and he can pass his genes.
Oh.
So this is basically a sexual selection. So it's called infanticide, which occurs in langur. The males will kill the infants of the previous male, so that he can
continue the dominant gene.
Yeah. So
Mm.
this is how they do it. They will try to overthrow the male of the.
Very interesting. So when we talk about wildlife, when I imagine wildlife, some leopard face comes to my mind. I don't know why, but apart from that, I can sense, I feel the sense of adventure, fear, thrill, some sort of pretty exciting. And I'm sure the wildlife is filled with stories. Those who study wildlife, they have amazing stories to share. And one story which is pending is dhole stories.
Yeah.
So can you tell us your dhole story and any other stories you have? Please go on.
Yeah. So I'm going to be telling two stories. One is, it's a very exciting kind of story.
Okay.
And the other one is a very somber, dark, sad story. But, both are realities, this is existing. Right. So the first story, it's, again, I was in KMTR.
Okay.
And I was, again, following the monkeys. And that morning, again, my field assistant, he's going to be famous. So
what's his name?
His name is John.
Johnson.
Okay. Yeah, it's been a while. I haven't spoken to him. But so that day, again, he didn't accompany me in the morning.
Okay.
But that day, I started off a little late itself. I didn't go exactly at 6. I started a little late, like maybe 7:30 I left. And again, I crossed, I went downhill, across the stream, I climbed up. And as I was climbing up, looking for the monkeys, in search of the monkeys, I heard this shrill call, okay, like this really loud call.
Okay.
And I'm just stunned. I just stopped in my tracks, and it's actually a sambar deer. sambar deer. So these are found in the forest, and they are
And you heard the noise of the herd or individual
the
sambar?
individual call, loud call. Okay, and they usually give this call when they are threatened.
Oh, okay.
So now I'm thinking, what?
Tiger?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
God,
all kinds of possibilities are running in my head. I'm like, oh my God, wait, what is this?
Okay.
Is it a bear? Is it a leopard? Is it a what is it? Right?
And also, sorry for stopping.
No, it's okay.
Are you wearing camouflage dress cloth?
Yeah, so you don't have to necessarily wear a camouflage. Something that's light, gray, green, these colors.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing too bright. Basically,
Does camouflage works in the forest? Like,
yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
See, I'll tell you why they stress on camouflage clothes, because if you're working with birds, if you're working with bees, and these animals, you have to. So they're very sensitive to dark colors. Like birds are attracted to colored,
Bright
right?
colours.
Because they pollinate, right? Even bees are pollinators. They get attracted to colored flowers, right? So that's why we are not supposed to wear red, yellow, because they attract birds. The color attracts, right? That's why
okay.
we avoid
Let's continue
those
the
colours.
story now. Yeah.
So I heard that shrill call, and I just stopped. And that's when my field assistant calls me from the other side. He has just arrived, and then he's like, "Madam, there's a pack of dholes here,
Oh God. Okay.
and they're chasing something." Okay, and then he's like, "Madam, you come this side."
Okay.
And I'm like, why would I come that side to see the dholes?
Okay.
He's like, "No, madam, I'm going.
He's curious.
Yeah, he's very curious, but I'm scared here.
Okay.
And I'm alone on the other side. Okay.
Oh, you're
I do
just
not
communicating.
know-
I mean, you
Yeah,
can't see him.
Yeah, we're communicating over phone.
Okay.
And I do not know where the dholes are. Are they on my side? Or are they
Oh,
on
God,
this side?
okay, this
in
is-
the middle? Because I have to cross and go the other side. Like he's on the other side. And I'm terrified. Okay, my heart's all racing. And then he's like, "Madam, you come this side. They're on the other side." Now he's telling me they're on the other side. So I carefully descend and I cross and I go, and then I see him, and he's running now. He's running after the dholes.
Okay.
He's running after the dholes, okay, and I can hear the bark. The dholes are, they make barking sounds, and I can hear them running, and even my field assistant, he's running after them, okay, and I'm so scared here. And then there comes a point where I see the tail, and but they run very quickly, so I didn't get to see the dholes, okay. And then I see the flesh of the sambar deer calf. It's all scattered on the floor, forest floor. The leg, the leg piece and some meat scattered. So they had just hunted a sambar deer calf, and that the sambar deer mother called out loudly. In the morning before, right? It was the call of the mother, and I mean, so that was a very thrilling moment, because I'm there in the scene of crime, like the
you have
crime
seen
scene.
before, this is on Animal Planet. Now you are saying this for real.
Exactly. And you can smell the flesh, like fresh smell, and so it was very exciting.
You have photographs of it?
I have the photograph of the meat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
But
Did you see the pack of those, by the way?
No, I didn't see
just
it.
heard
But
the
they were
noise.
there. Like they were there. We heard them run, and I think my assistant saw it.
When I go to the jungle and see pack of those, maybe 10, 12 in number, what to do?
Ideally, they would not do anything. Actually,
To humans?
yeah, they wouldn't. If they have been disturbed, or if they haven't had food for a while, maybe then they would. I think then they would try to scare you, try to attack you. But otherwise, on a normal, leopards, tigers, they wouldn't. Even dholes, they wouldn't. I think try to actively attack you, as long as you're not going and pestering them. As long as you're not going and disturbing them. Yeah.
Okay, what about the sad story?
Yeah, so this happened in Tenmala. So this is before starting my PhD, I was working in Tenmala for 13 months.
Tenmala is in Kerala?
Kerala,
Okay.
yeah. And we were actually studying the mother-infant relationships in bonnet macaques.
Okay.
So that was a year-long project, and I was part of that. So we would follow mothers I said focal sampling, right?
Yeah.
So we would use focal sampling for 15 minutes, and we would follow the mothers and collect all behavioral data, and then we would also observe infants.
Okay.
So, but infants, since they're so fast, right?
Okay.
We couldn't collect data, on our tabs.
Okay.
So we would actually take video.
Then write it back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then we would decode the video, and then we'd have the behavior. So we would actually have a camera with us, and we would shoot videos. So that evening, so this was by I think 4 o'clock or something. We were just finishing up. So I was collecting the video of this infant called Mimi.
Okay.
So we had given names to every individual, right? I told you. So Mimi was the infant of an individual called Maz.
Maz.
I told you
Okay.
Maz,
Yeah,
right?
Maz,
She was this woman who would
Dominant,
seek attention.
yeah.
No, she was not dominant.
Okay.
She was a middle-ranking individual.
Okay.
But she was someone who wanted attention of all the males. And she would do anything.
Attention.
Yeah. Attention seeker.
Seeker, sorry.
Yeah. So Mimi,
Mm-hmm.
so she was just 3 months or 4 months old. No, so she was born in in June or something, and this event happened in October. So June, July, August,
4
September,
months.
October. Yeah, 4 months. So still small individual. Okay, and she was, I was just taking her. I've just finished taking her video, and then. So I told you, right? So these macaques live close to humans. They're on the roads, they're on the shops,
Okay.
they go to human settlements. Yeah, right. And we were collecting the video. I was collecting the video on the road, by the side of the road. And this road is a state highway.
Okay.
Buses are going. These buses that they go in top speed. The road is very narrow, very narrow.
Okay. And where were you?
I was on so there is a bridge. I'm on the side of the bridge. It's next to the road, basically. I'm on the bridge. I'm taking the video of the infant. And I just finished taking the video of the infant. And she crossed to the other side of the road.
Okay.
Right. And my another colleague, she was also just making observations. She had just finished taking video of another infant. And then she just turned and she heard the thud sound. A car hit Mimi and it just went. And even both of us heard the thud sound, and we turned. It was no more. She was no more on the road in front of us. And we were just shocked. I had just taken her video just 2 minutes, and she was, all around and playing with other infants, and the next second she's, lying dead on the road. And
You have been observing that Mimi for 4 months.
For 4 months, from the time of her birth.
Birth to.
And we see, we feel like we should not grow attachments.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously, when we're collecting data, we're not growing we're not doing anything to create bias. We're doing very objectively. But we obviously grow this form of emotions, right? Because they're individuals, they have their own personalities, So Mimi was, so when...
What was a mother's reaction?
Yes, immediately she crossed the road, she collected the baby and she sat on the bridge and she's holding her. But she's dead, okay? She's just... So luckily, there was no bloodshed. The impact hit.
Shock.
Yeah, the impact, I think the head, and the impact, because of the impact, she died. So Maz is just carrying her and just sitting. And then everyone else is just you can sense the tension. Everyone in the group is okay, they're all coming close to her. They're all sniffing her. It's a very somber...
Was there a consoling environment?
Yeah, and then we couldn't stay for long. We couldn't. And
What?
No, in the sense we couldn't,
Yeah, you couldn't.
And we had finished data collection. And my PI, she's like, let's not stay for too long. Let's go, because let's not do any more data collection also. Let's stop. Let's go back. We stayed there for some time just to observe how Maz was holding on to Mimi, hoping for her to come back, to life.
Wow. Hoping.
Yeah. And she's just there holding. We went back. It was a very sad day. And my colleague actually came back in the evening, not just to visit. And Maz didn't have Mimi that time. She might have just dropped her somewhere because she's not moving. Right?
What do they do? Bury or something?
No, they would just have to leave them. So there are many stories like this. So during my 13 months, we saw many infants die through electrocution, through roadkill, some losing their limbs. So I saw many individuals. A very sad thing. So we would go to forest department. We would talk to forest department, like do something about this. We had even worked with the forest department to raise awareness with the local community. To even, and so a lot of issues. Again, I told you, it's a very complex issue.
Yeah.
So people are feeding monkeys. So Tenmala is the first ecotourism site in India.
Okay.
So a lot of tourists come. There's a dam there. People, go to the top of the dam. They come. So it's an ecotourist site, right? A lot of people come, and then monkeys are there. So they feed them. And we are here. We're collecting data, and then we're telling people, don't feed them. Don't feed them, because the more you feed them, the more they'll just be surrounded near the roads, and then more individuals will die because vehicles were now, it's a state highway, and they're going in such high speeds. People are not considerate, and
and it's very difficult to educate people.
Yes, it's very difficult. Oh my God, we have dealt with some really, I don't want to use bad words, but I've dealt with some really difficult people. They're telling me,
no, we can beep it out in the podcast.
No, some people they think that they know everything. Okay, we're explaining very calmly, sir, please don't feed them. Like, no, it is my right to feed them. I can feed them. I can do anything I want. And we're getting frustrated. So I am dealing with all kinds of.
Don't you show your degree? I'm a primatologist.
It doesn't matter.
That doesn't work.
It doesn't work with these people, and we're trying to explain to them.
There are different breed of primates too. Just kidding.
Exactly. And I know that's the thing. When I'm observing primates, the more and more I realizes that it's so difficult to work with humans because they're so less sensible, and primates are they have such understanding. Conflict resolution. They do all kinds of things, and humans is just so difficult. So this is one of this.
Let's talk about your PhD is in like your field of study. You study extensively on animal adaptation on anthropogenic habitat. So tell us, why do animals come to human habitats?
Right.
And what is the step of how do they evolve? I mean, how do they adapt step by step? Like.
So let's look at India first. Okay. So human animal, this interaction is worldwide, as where there is humans and animals living. They're sharing space and sharing resources. Right now, let's look at India, the context of India. I told you, I was explaining to you how elephants require a lot of space, right?
Yeah.
They have to walk kilometers of kilometers. Similarly, even primates, they not that much space, but they, why do they come to human habitation, right? It's because now as we're expanding agriculture, we need industrial scale agricultural expansion is happening to feed the growing population.
Correct.
And then there's construction of roads for development, right? Then there's dam construction, mining, and then there is plantations. Now look at what's happening in Indonesia. There's oil palm.
Correct. Palm oil plantations.
Palm oil plantations for. Again, this is all for the global, local markets, right? Growing demands, right? So as and when that demand is increasing, governments, they have to, this is what they do. They will just clear forests at a stretch, and now animals, they do not know where to go, right? And then they enter human habitation. So as and when they enter, they try to find these sources of food, right? And it starts off with when by humans feeding them. It starts. That's where it starts.
They feel they're welcomed or something.
Yeah, and in many Southeast Asian countries, right? A lot of religious beliefs, right? So even if you look at Southeast Asian countries, there are monkey temples. Monkey temples are there. They're dedicated for monkeys to be there, and people will go actively feed them, right? Because of religious beliefs, cultural beliefs, right? That you grow up with. So that's the starting point. These macaques and macaques themselves are very. See, langurs, I told you, they're very shy, right? They cannot. The moment they see humans, they will flee. But macaques are not like that. So they have learned. They've over the years. Our relationship with macaques is very. It's very long. It's very long. In fact, we have stories about our relationship with macaques in folklore, in mythology as well, right? And even in folklore stories, there have been songs sung, in praise of monkeys and our interactions with monkeys. So our relationship is very, it's bittersweet. There's a very hate and love relationship with monkeys. So that's the starting point. So we feed them, and they grow accustomed to human foods. Now they crave human foods, right? Now, in fact, there's a study by a researcher. Her name is Dr. Ashmita Sengupta. So she worked on rhesus macaque in West Bengal and also bonnet macaques in Goa. But her findings are. So humans are provisioning. Provisioning is the term where you're feeding them. Okay, humans are giving. So now monkeys start begging for food. So this interaction, right? It's actually causing. It's hampering the ecological function of seed dispersal.
Okay.
Because monkeys eat fruits.
Correct.
And then they disperse the seeds. But now that is not happening.
So this will indirectly affect the forest regrowth, right?
Yes. So and she actually estimated it.
Okay.
She actually.
Do you know the numbers, like on the estimation?
No, as in like she gave it significantly impacting that, because they're seen on the roads now most of the time. Because they know when.
Yeah,
tourism,
when to get food.
Yes, there's a tourism season, right? In these tourist locations, they know that people will come that time, so they're just there on the roads. I've seen this even in KMTR. I've seen this in if you go to Nandi Hills, Chamundi Hills in Mysore, Nandi Hills in Bangalore. Bonnets are just there. They're just there. That is their source of food, right?
Just sit and there's free food.
They have learned this over the years. They've learned.
And also it it's not good, right? They wouldn't need to learn how to get food from the wild, right?
Yeah.
If they're habituated to get free food.
Yeah. And so it's a very, it's a cause of concern, right? Like they're here begging for human food, which it's very high calorie. It gives them good nutrition, but it can have like negative consequences, right? And recently they've also shown that macaques are being obese. They're getting obesity and associated risks of heart disease risk and all that, right? And then they're not carrying out the ecological functions, these ecosystem processes that
very key.
Important functions, so that's happening. And and again it's a cycle. So they're learning to live alongside human. They're learning to get human foods. So I think that's how
they get into human settlements.
Yeah.
Now, is it a good thing that they come to? What are the positive side of it, and what is the negative side of it?
See, we can look at it in two ways. There's a lot of negative. There's definitely a lot of negative consequences to it in terms of how. If it's there can be positive interactions. Okay, like. You can a very respectable distance, you can learn about them.
Can we be friends with monkeys? Is it a good thing to be friends with? No, right?
I don't think
it sounds cute, but it's not good in terms of ecology.
Yeah, because they're wild. They're after all wild, and we can't we can't domesticate. That should not be that's not the goal, right? We can't make them as pets. No, they're supposed to be in the wild because. And also there's the risk of disease transmission, right? So there's a lot of associated risk with negative interactions. They can bite and, we kill them, there's a lot of intolerance. So again, attitudes and perceptions, right? It varies within cultures, across cultures. And positive interactions, like, we can just coexist with them.
Got
They can be there, and we can do our own thing, but it's very tricky still, because they would still want human foods, and we are constantly competing.
Got it.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about now let's talk about human-primate conflict.
Yeah. Okay.
So, is there any conflict happening?
Yes.
In the
Yes. So, in Himachal Pradesh,
Mhm.
there is a huge problem of human rhesus macaque conflict.
Okay.
To an extent, so to that, the state government, in fact, even the central government, has given permission to kill the rhesus macaques, to cull them,
Why?
because of the damage that they're causing to the crops. So it's crop depredation. So they're and I told you, right?
What crops they have in Himachal? Apples?
No, not just apples. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But I think it's because it's they have their winter crop and summer crops, right? So based on that, I'm not sure of what crops that are grown there, but farmers, it's where it's actually one of the agricultural, like, Haryana, Uttarakhand, Himachal, they're all agricultural states, that's where a lot of crops are grown. So these farmers are dependent on
Correct.
their
And it's easy
agriculture.
for us to point fingers at them, and blaming either side. Maybe animal
Yeah.
for ruining the crops.
Yeah.
Maybe blaming on human
Yeah.
for being at such a proximity.
Yeah.
But yeah, one can only feel, what if, I have only a piece of land
Yeah.
and I have only one crop, and if it destroyed overnight, government should compensate. That's a solution actually, but
Yeah.
but here the situation is pretty complex, pretty
Yeah.
intense, and pretty
Yeah.
emotional.
Yeah. So it's a huge problem. So since decades, this
Yeah.
problem has persisted.
Not even decades. I think when we started cultivating crops, 30,000 BC,
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it has intensified in the past,
Yeah,
I think, few decades, intensified because of the way, we have expanded agriculture, and, there's very little space for, macaques, right? Then they're constantly entering agricultural fields, croplands, and it's easy access of food, right? It's quick nutrition. So that's why the state government has given permission to kill them. But interestingly, farmers there do not kill them. They don't want to kill them because they feel, no, it's God.
Okay.
Even with regulations passed
Okay.
for it, they've even incentivized it. Like, we'll give you money to go kill them.
Is it?
Yeah, they've
Okay.
they have monkey catchers.
Okay.
These people who can actually shoot them. But people are very hesitant because, like, nahi, it's God.
Okay.
On the other hand, on the flip side, in Kerala, there is bonnet macaque problem. Like, even when I was working,
Same with agriculture. They
yes.
come to, okay.
So even in the site I was working in Tenmala, they have not huge plantations. They have like some banana, coconut, and rubber and all of that, right? Rubber plantations. So these jackfruit, yes, jackfruit. So these monkeys come and they, eat the jackfruit. They put the coconuts down and they eat that. So they're done with it. Farmers are like tired of it. So they keep complaining to us. Please do something. Take it away. And we're like, no, this is something that is a very complex issue, and we can't just translocation does not work.
Does not work, right? Yeah.
Absolutely does
That's
not
the
work.
only government response we get for
Yes,
this issue.
immediate response is that.
Translocation.
But it does not work.
Yeah.
You take it from one place, you put it in another place.
Yeah.
That's going to happen. It's
Correct.
going to repeat again. There. So you need to understand what is causing it, right? So for that, you need to work with, communities. You need to understand, the behavior of the animal, right? And then what's causing for them to behave that way. And even they have Himachal Pradesh, in fact, has even done sterilization programs. They've tried to sterilize the rhesus macaques.
Okay.
so that they don't, increase in
Breed,
number.
yeah.
But that has not, I think, worked.
Why not?
In fact, they have become more aggressive.
Hmm.
Macaques have become more aggressive. So yeah, a lot of things have been failing in Himachal, and so now they're trying to give so some researchers are trying to give put forth a very holistic approach, a biocultural approach, try to understand people there, try to understand their motivations, their attitudes, and understand that, and understand the behavior of the species, and try to find a middle ground, to better understand, to find better solutions. So farmers have tried all kinds of methods to place physical barriers, fences.
Correct.
But monkeys can jump.
Yeah.
Even
electrocution.
For elephants, electrocution. But again, elephants are also very, very intelligent. They try to find loopholes in their electric fence where it's less intense, and they push it.
Is it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and so there are many different ways of that farmers are trying to mitigate, barriers, even chili powder fences.
What's chili powder fences?
They coat these fences with chili powder.
Okay.
And that it's an irritant for them, elephants.
Okay.
So they will try to move away.
Good strategy.
But it doesn't work. Overall, it doesn't work. If it rains, it'll go off, right?
So what do you think is, if relocation is not the solution, what do you think is a good solution on your opinion? Like farmers' crops are destroyed.
Yeah.
Don't you think government should compensate that instead of doing something on animals?
So there are compensation schemes, okay? But the problem with compensation is it's not given on time. Right. And when it comes to lives lost, so in human-elephant conflict, in human-primate conflict, there is no human lives are not lost to great extent. Like, I'm not very sure of the numbers, but maybe they bite. Okay, and that's the maximum. I would, macaques won't go and kill humans. But elephant conflict or
leopards
or sloth bear or wild boar, these are huge problems. Huge problems in India. Human elephant is it's a big issue.
Yeah, very big.
Very big
the
issue.
Hassan especially.
Yes, Hassan, West Bengal, Assam, huge issue. In fact, there is a number for that. Nearly 300 to 500 elephants die annually, and 1,000 people die. 1,000 people.
1,000 people and 300 elephants die annually.
Yes.
On this conflict.
Yes. This is with human-elephant conflict.
My God.
In India. So this is a big number, right? It's a big number.
Let's talk about that specifically.
Yes.
What causes animal-human conflict?
So
where it starts from? I see conflict happening would be elephant migration.
Yeah.
Moving from one forest to another.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The forests are fragmented.
Yes.
So maybe in between they find human farms.
Yeah.
Maybe sugarcane, maybe sweet fruits.
Yeah.
And this may be the passing point.
Yeah.
And they they come in contact with civilization, but they have to move on. They wouldn't be staying there. Is that the case?
No. So that's the thing. No. So there are elephant corridors. Okay, in between national parks and reserves.
Okay.
Right, there are corridors, but they are roads. So then they have to cross roads.
Roads, yeah.
So some elephants, not just roads, railways also.
Oh God.
Yeah, and that's how many elephants are killed because they.
How many? Do you recall any incident with the railway collision with the elephant?
I think there was a recent. I think last year.
Oh, it's common then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not very common, but it happens. Elephants are killed, from with collision with trains. But yeah, the point is, there are these corridors. There are roads. There are croplands. There are these sugarcane farms or bamboo plantations, and so they as they cross it, they might feed on that. And then and they're huge animals, right? So they destroy and then people get aggravated by it. So it's local farmers, right? And then they throw stones and they'll throw firecrackers. This will again aggravate the animal.
It doesn't work.
And it will aggravate the animal to a point where they get angry.
Charged and
Yes, they will charge and then humans die. Because of which it's a cycle. Then it's a continuous cycle, Humans are aggravated, then they want to take revenge or something like that. And then they will try to kill. So the recent 2020 case of the firecracker, firecracker burst inside. There was a pineapple.
Oh, yeah, that went really viral, right? Yeah, tell us about that.
Yes. So the elephant, actually the pineapple was kept for wild boar.
Okay.
So in Kerala, wild boar is a vermin. It's causing a huge havoc. There are some studies done which I do not know very well. But wild boar is a huge problem in Kerala. So farmers are very tired of it. So they want to kill it, right? So they're keeping pineapples in which they've kept firecrackers. So it'll burst and they're inside the mouth of the boar and it'll die. But unfortunately, the elephant consumed it.
Okay.
And it burst and the entire mouth, it blasted and then it died.
Okay.
So that is a huge,
these are the small incidents.
Small incidences like this occur everywhere.
What do you think is the solution when it comes to human-elephant conflict specifically?
So when you talk about conflict in general, we cannot give one solution for everything.
Everyone.
There's no one solution that fits all. No. It has to be something that is catered to the local community, the economic structure, what the local community needs, the financial status of that. Very and species specific also.
Okay.
It has to be with understanding both
sides.
Yeah. So it's important to we have to cater to the needs of the local people, right? These are people that are they're living there. Either the government should compensate in such a way that they're immediately translocated. The local people are translocated to a different place, and they're given all facilities. But that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen.
It's not viable, I guess.
Yeah. And because compensation doesn't work. Compensation is so delayed. People have lost faith. Okay. And they're because of which they get so angry with the wildlife.
They're not sure if they're getting the compensation.
Yes, they have lost life. There are families where the men who are the breadwinners of the family, they're the only ones who are the breadwinners of the family, and they are killed in the conflict situation. And then now the family they have nothing. There's a mother, she's a widow now, and she has kids to look after. She doesn't know what to do, so she's lost faith, right? And
very emotional subject.
Yeah, it's a very problematic, very complex issue, with elephant, with tiger and leopard, and So the solution is, it's very difficult. We have to work with many different people, not just with conservationists. We have to work with economists, sociologists, anthropologists, biologists,
politicians.
Yeah, which is very difficult because they only work with their best interests in mind.
True.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about zoonotic diseases. So another reason why we need to take human-animal conflict more seriously is because of zoonotic diseases. So zoonotic diseases are the ones we get from the animals for being in close proximity to it. And human-animal conflict is not just about people living just at the proximity to the animal or proximity to the wildlife corridor. It's also about people at any part of the world. And to elaborate that context, think about COVID-19. So there are many theories on how it originated, but most accepted and most popular one is zoonotic one. So how the virus spilled from the bats to the humans. So this is one of the instances of zoonotic diseases. But the effect of COVID-19, we all have felt this scar, like maybe mentally, physiologically, psychologically. And on top of that, there's a loss of like over 4 million people lost their lives and economic loss of 19 trillion US dollars. So yeah, it occasionally occurs. And if you don't believe in COVID-19 being a zoonotic thing, then consider H1N1 and Ebola. These are purely zoonotic origins. And even there is a theory saying HIV/AIDS originated from human sexual contact with the monkey. I don't know. Just flashed my mind actually. Yeah, what do you think of that? Yeah, I mean, how did HIV/AIDS originated?
So, human immunodeficiency virus,
Yes.
right? So in Africa, in the African continent, people consume meat of primates and many other animals, right?
Okay.
So it's called bushmeat hunting.
Okay.
So they would just kill a primate and then sell the meat, and that's how it occurs, right?
Okay.
So for HIV to spread, what happened is people might have come in direct contact with the blood of a chimpanzee or a primate, non-human primate species, who might have been affected by HIV.
Okay.
And they consumed it, and that is how it might have bushmeat hunting. It's a huge problem
Okay.
across the world. An illegal trade, wildlife trade for consumption of meat or for medicinal, for medicines. Because
Okay.
there's Chinese medicines, right? They use a lot of animals. A lot of animals, a lot of indigenous plants and animals. As medicinal, because they consider it has a lot of medicinal properties, right? So similarly, HIV is thought to have originated from there. People consuming,
Okay.
yeah.
That is the source of the HIV origin.
Yes.
So, yeah, misconception cleared. I was thinking HIV transmitted to humans because humans had sexual encounter with the monkey. Wrong.
So when you come in direct contact with the blood fluids, right, and air droplets contaminated with the virus, that's how it spreads.
Got it.
Yeah.
So now walk us through the zoonotic diseases in India,
Yeah.
and should we be concerned about it? And have you seen any zoonotic diseases in people who are living in the proximity to these monkeys?
So there are, zoonotic diseases are any diseases that are spread from animals, right?
Yes.
So there are many, dengue, chikungunya, all of these, it's the vectors are animals,
Okay.
right? So when we're talking about zoonotic, that can be spread through
Directly without
Yeah.
any vector.
Yeah. So with primates, I can say with primates, okay. So there's monkeypox, there is simian immunodeficiency virus,
Okay.
and then and even humans can spread. So there's a bidirectional transmission of disease as well.
Okay, not
So-
from one side.
Yeah, no. So zoonotic is the origin is animal.
Animals. Okay.
But because we interact that way, there can also be bidirectional disease transmission, right? So I'm also talking about that. Like even we can spread tuberculosis, anthrax, and many other diseases to primates,
Primates.
right? So I'm not sure of with in India, if we have any records of primates spreading disease directly to humans, and if there is actual evidence for that, but it happens in
Okay.
because I think in other countries they've actually tested it. They've actually seen the presence of certain diseases spread from monkeys to humans based on bites. They direct contact. They bite, and that way you can spread diseases.
So is monkeypox is from the monkey bite?
Yes.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
That was a big thing in US, no?
Oh, I'm not sure.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know they overhyped it or not. I mean, yeah, because people had. It was just after Corona. I mean,
Okay.
COVID-19.
Right. Yeah.
So getting 2 more cases of monkeypox here and there could have
Yeah. And it's not very it's not high fatality like some other diseases, but it has not like smallpox. So they have very slight lesions on the body, all over the body, and it's not very lethal as smallpox is. But it's still spread from
And
monkeys.
even I've heard like after COVID-19, the health agencies like
Right.
WHO, CDC,
Yeah.
sending
yeah.
the health troops to the remote forest
Right.
to spot the next possible outbreak, like
Yeah.
testing
yeah.
the bats or other animals,
yeah.
viruses
Correct.
that could give rise to next
Yeah.
pandemic or something.
So yeah, bats are very they're easy carriers of these pathogens.
Pathogens.
Yeah, and they do not themselves get infected by it, and then they feed on fruits, and they feed on a lot of things which we consume, right?
Okay.
So that's how a lot of diseases can spread. But yeah, we just need to understand how zoonotic diseases can spread. It's so so there are many pathogens out there in the wild that are dormant actually. It is as and when we clear forest, large tract of forest, right, and we are closing the gap between the wild and human human inhabitation, we're getting in close contact, right? That is when these pathogens they get activated, like they get activated, they come out from the state of dormancy, and now they want to latch onto a host because they have to complete their life cycle, right? And that is how they now vectors act as first primary host for them, and and as vectors travel to human habitation, which is very close, there's easy transmission. And again, not all zoonotic diseases will so zoonotic diseases spread from animals to humans, but again, not all diseases from pathogens or that in the wild will infect us, because they have their own cycle, okay, evolutionarily cycle.
Yeah.
There is this host parasite interaction. So that is, we are the host, that's a parasite. It's a very evolutionary mechanism,
Species specific.
yeah. So not every pathogen will latch on to us, and there's a barrier for that to spread to us, and then from us to spread to other humans. There is a lot of evolutionary processes occurring.
Probability is very low.
Yeah. So there's a lot of it takes time for that to occur. Not every pathogen. So for COVID-19 to have occurred, so that is a big thing, for it to spread from from the from the vector to us, and then for us to be able to spread it to other individuals. So that's a lot of process. So a lot of barriers have been broken down. So that is a huge cause of concern. So we have to not let that happen in the future. Yeah.
So let's talk about career.
Yeah.
Conservation biology as a career.
Right.
So you are specifically studying animal adaptation on anthropogenic habitat.
Yeah.
So what are the branches in conservation biology that you see as a like very exciting opportunities, like the sub branches of conservation biology?
Right. So it's not just limited to the conservation. You can actually get into a broad range of things. Like, so you can just do field biology if you're very just interested in understanding the mechanisms of how things work in the wild. How does the biology work of the species? How is the behavior? You can just do that. If you're interested in in journalism, environmental journalism, you can do. You can actually go to places where there are not just conflicts, but there are a lot of issues of wildlife. So just to give you examples, like in Rajasthan and Gujarat, there is this bird called great Indian bustard. Okay, and it is declining. It is declining rapidly because of wind turbines. There are a lot of wind turbines, and also problem with dogs. Dogs are actually, feral dogs are feeding. They're actually consuming the eggs. They're attacking the nests of these birds.
So they lay nest in the
in the plains.
Ground. Okay.
Yes, because those regions are plains, the grasslands, right? So their population are declining for that. So, and then there are issues with like river systems, or so if people are interested in just writing about it and create impact from the ground, they can do that. And then there's also policy. If you're interested in like policy analyst or policy advocates, you can probably obviously have an understanding of what is the current status of ecological forest in India, and then take up policy in your for your masters or something like that. And you can do writing. You can there's a lot of scope for environmental journalism. If you're interested in that. And then just doing research and scientists and
Correct.
these are what on the top of my head. Yeah,
Okay.
what I'm.
What is the most rewarding part of your job?
See, it's this constant humility, like I'm out there in the field and I observe not just primates. Okay, so for me, this is especially for me, when I'm there in the forest, I'm observing the trees. I'm observing, the different birds, the fruits, the everything that the primate encounters, everything the primate interacts with, right? So it's a very broad perspective. I'm not just looking at behavior, and that kind of makes me feel so grounded, and that there is so much more to learn. There is so much more there to see. And, we humans feel that we're so stuck up, we think we know everything, we know, and that we are so great, that we have this power that we can actually control other beings, right? But this is the humility. This is what I realize every time I'm out there, that it is actually the system, the forest system that control. I mean, that actually governs everything, and all the answer is out there. Like you were talking about biomimicry. I think this is way earlier, 2 years back.
Oh, even I've made a video on biomimicry. I'm releasing it soon.
That's so great. So when you told me about it, and I was thinking, we have a lot of answers. Engineering problems can be solved looking at nature, right? And not just that, like, if we just try to understand the mechanism of nature, we can solve so many problems, right? So it is that humility that that keeps me moving forward, and I think that is a good realization for me. Like that's like a everyday thing for me.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So what would be your most frustrating or challenging part of your job?
There's a lot of challenge.
I can guess, dealing with humans.
Yes, definitely. So like, because I have to go to forest, okay, and I need first, so there's going to be issues like with permits. In India, getting permits is a big problem.
Okay.
Right? So
what do you have to do to get the permit to enter the wildlife corridor?
You have to give an application, what you're doing, give a proposal of your project.
To which, or you have to submit in the website?
Okay. Yeah, to the forest department. They have online applications.
Okay.
So you have to fill all of that, and that will take 3 months' time for them to process.
For the approval?
Yes.
Oh God, okay.
And with me, it's even more problematic now.
Why?
Because I'm affiliated with a foreign university. So now I need clearance from the central government.
That's the frustrating part of your job.
Yeah.
The applications.
Initial. So for forest permits in India, it takes time, 3 months. And after that, and then just field condition challenges, like there are a lot of uncertainties, like there's, weather conditions and then terrain. Forest is, it's forest, right?
Yeah.
The terrain is undulating, and there's a lot of, difficulties, challenges with that. And, excuse me, yeah. So, collecting behavioral data, it's challenging.
Okay.
Because,
patience.
A lot of patience, and primates are high up in the trees, and you have to follow
Pain in
them.
the neck.
Yes. Yeah. So that way, those challenges, Yeah.
Okay, if somebody is taking a career in conservation biology, what it takes to be a great conservation biologist, and you can also state the challenges and the opportunities who is taking up the career in conservation biology.
I think so. It would be good to have at least a basic degree in in biology or zoology or wildlife, if you can.
Is it necessary?
No, not for everyone. Sometimes if you're so passionate about it, you can actually go through a different channel. Okay?
From photography to conservation biology?
Yeah, you can possibly. You have to really put in the hard work.
But you should be grounded with the basics of zoology.
Yes. So at least maybe a bachelor's, or if not also, it's good. I mean, it's fine. It can work actually, because I know people who don't even have a bachelor's in wildlife, and who are actually good at this. That's why I mentioned about environmental journalism, right?
Yes.
So these people they're able to actually write good impact stories of conservation issues that happen on the ground. And all you have to do is just be able to write,
Good
articulate,
storyteller.
articulate the problem well, and write it. And that's an impactful story. And that way, if you keep doing that, you're building up a good credibility, to work in conservation science. But then you can also do policy if you're interested in policy, because policy also you can make huge changes, right? Make
It influences the
impact.
government's decision.
Exactly. For the better of the forest, the local communities, and all of that. But if you want to go the usual pathway would be okay, to get a bachelor's, or if you want a master's. If not, also it's okay. And then maybe work in some projects. There are so many NGOs in India. Many NGOs in India. Just to name a few.
List 5 NGOs in India.
Okay, so A-Tree, it's Ashoka Trust for Research in Ecology and Environmental Sciences.
Where is it based?
It's in Bangalore.
Okay.
And then there is WCS.
What do they do, the first ones?
A-Tree. So they work extensively across India on everything from wildlife. There is sustainability, conservation, social, sociology related. Like they're very interdisciplinary approach to conservation and conservation sciences. So there are many people working in. So there are people with backgrounds in sociology, but they're working, in that conservation, because they bring in the knowledge from sociology to try to work at grassroots level.
Educating people.
Yes. Trying to understand and try to come up with ground, solutions from the ground, from the base. Right? And then entomology, there is primatology. So A-Tree is doing very good work. And they're also working with forest systems. So this project that I was in KMTR, they're actually working on long-term ecological monitoring of the forests.
Okay, how long the project is
for
going to
30
be?
years,
30
and it's still
years.
going on.
Wow.
And they're looking at how climate change, like temperature, all of that is affecting the phenology. Phenology is
the property of trees.
Yes, you got it right.
Yes.
The times at which it leaves, and then leaves will shed. Right, some deciduous trees the leaves will fall, and then the flowering. When does it flower? When does it fruit? This is the phenological state, right? So they've been monitoring every month for the past 30 years.
Wow.
So they've been doing, So this is very important.
This is one. Which is the second?
Next is WCS, Wildlife Conservation Society. That's also, I think, based in Bangalore. WCS works in. They work on, I think, a range of topics with wildlife.
Okay.
And there is CWS, Center for Wildlife Studies. That's also based in Bangalore. And Dr. Ullas Karant, Dr. Kriti Karant, who have worked with tiger, and they're working with human-tiger conflict, coexistence, and all of that. They are based from CWS. In fact, Dr. Ullas Karant, he founded CWS. Yeah, that's 3. And then there is NCBS. So NCBS is it's a National Center for Biological Sciences.
But they are open for internship programs?
Yeah.
Okay.
So internships, it's a thing, I'll tell you. Anyone who's interested to work, just mail people.
Okay.
Mail the professors. Look up their profile. Just see what they're doing. If that interests your, it aligns with your interest, then you should definitely mail them. Yeah. So that's one. And then I'm getting a lot of names, but there are many actually.
Okay, got it.
But yeah, I could give you a list later. Yes.
So it means being a good orator, and having great patience.
Yeah.
And collaborating and having good practical.
Yes. Oh, I didn't even talk about the collaboration
part.
Yeah. So just to be able to have an open mind. You should have an open mind and not think that what I'm doing is the right way. No, you always get different perspectives from different fields.
Okay.
Because conservation science is very interdisciplinary, very multidisciplinary. It's ecology, there is social sciences, there's economics and policy and everything. Right?
Everything.
Yeah. So
open-minded, collaborative, patience.
Yeah.
And
and just
active,
have the passion for it. Yeah. If you're really, because this is not a easy job. It's not. It's
Okay.
definitely not an easy job, to be in the field. If you really want to be in the field. So that's the thing. If you want to be in the field and work, then your field, you become a field biologist. Even people who are writing, right? They have to actually go on ground and see. Right? So you have to have that patience and willing to listen to stories, not just your stories. You're actually listening to people, listening to their concerns, right? Yeah. So.
Now let's talk about technology, how technology is helping conservation biology, or in particular animal adaptation on anthropology habitat.
Right.
So what is the role of technology in your field?
I think in the past decade, or I think even before that, there has been a very advent of technology used in primatology, especially I think machine learning. A lot of AI tools are being used to understand data sets, huge.
You guys
data
are catching up so fast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Huge data. In fact, there is this professor from Ohio State University whose talk I attended, and she's doing an excellent work with using machine learning to understand for conservation. So she's trying to use AI algorithms to
predict the behavior.
Yeah, predict the presence, the population density
Okay.
estimation of different species across the world. Whales, sharks, dolphins, primates in Africa, and many species, and she's getting a lot of data from different. She's doing an excellent work with collaboration. So she's working with scientists from Europe, Africa.
From different fields.
Yeah. And getting data sets from all of them, and she's working collaboratively. And
wow.
Yeah, so I mean, even I didn't know much about the use of machine learning, but listening to her talk and some of her work. So another work that they're doing, very interesting work with baboons.
Okay.
What they're trying. So this is a collaborative work with I think another scientist from Max Planck Institute in Germany. Yeah, and what they're doing is they're trying to understand movement ecology of baboons. So baboons, they're groups, I think 50, 60 individuals or more than that, okay, in one group. So throughout the day, they have to go in search of food, right? And in Africa, it's savannas, right? Like savanna, it's grasslands and all. So they travel and then they start splitting. Groups will split. And so they have, the collaborators, they've actually radio collared individuals.
Okay.
They're radio collars, so they can track their movement. They can track their body temperature. They can track spatial positions of them. So this scientist from my university, she's collecting all of that data and modeling it. She's modeling it, to predict the movement
of
where
migration.
They will go. Yeah.
Okay.
Or what habitat is suitable for them, what is not suitable for them. So all that. So you can come up with different models based on the information that you're getting from.
In the same way, can we do the same modeling? Does it work on elephant migration?
Yeah.
There's a big problem in Assam and in Karnataka.
Yeah. But then you have to tag them, which can be it's a big animal, right? It's a huge animal. So, but I think they have tried to track some individuals. They do. They do. Yeah.
So that's how they use AI.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Have you seen the usage of drones or satellites for this?
Yeah. So again, not in India. For they're using drones to capture, where the presence of individual and all of that. But for primate studies, as of I know, in India, they haven't used drones for primate studies. In Indonesia, on orangutans, they're actually using drones to understand where they're going, the behavior of orangutans. And I think that's a very good technology to use. But again, not every place will allow you to use drones and, the habitat. If it's a very thick forest, it's a very dense forest, right? Drones will not have that, they won't be able to move through the forest. So yeah.
Any other technologies you can recall?
Yeah, camera traps. That has been in use for quite some time, and radio collaring, radio telemetry. So yeah, I think these are the basic technologies. I mean, most technologies that I can think of that are in use now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And
And just to add to that, like for behavioral sampling, we're also using tabs. Like so, we used tabs, and there are softwares where we can actually collect behavioral data instead of using a pen and paper, just to make our life a little easier.
Okay.
Because otherwise, the conventional way is using pen and paper.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time. You may
and then
miss
you have
the key
to
moments.
decode it, and you have to sit and put it in Excel sheet and then analyze and all. So this, using tabs and the software, you can directly export the data into an Excel. It will come on the Excel.
Very efficient.
Yeah, very efficient. So there are different ways you can.
Do the villages use any kind of social media to cope with the conflict, or how do they communicate with the officials? Like, what is the response?
So in Valparai, Valparai is in Tamil Nadu. It is near Coimbatore. That's the closest town I can think of. City that I can think of. So Valparai is again it's within the Anamalai Tiger Reserve, and it is in higher elevation. There is a huge elephant conflict, but which has reduced over the past few years because of the efforts of the other organization that I should have mentioned is Nature Conservation Foundation.
Okay.
Yeah, Nature Conservation, because they're working actively in this place. I should have remembered. So they have been doing a very good job. So they have instilled these alert systems where if they know, it's kind of like, I don't know how it works. I'm very bad with, the technology that has been used, and I don't think I can explain it. But there is some kind of a system where movement sensor or something, right? If an elephant passes through it, it will send radio signals to people on the phone that there's an elephant there in this location, right? So I think it's based on the GPS I don't know, and then they've actually formed an alert system in that town, in Valparai.
Loudspeakers or something?
No, through mobile phones. They'll get messages,
instantly.
SMSs, saying, okay, the elephant is in this estate, so people do not go there.
Correct.
To avoid that conflict. So this is a very good. So all local people, they have their mobiles registered to this system. So everyone will get an alert message.
This will really help for those, like I think lots of human deaths happen when they encounter the elephant on the road.
Yes.
So if they get the SMS, they can prevent passing through the road.
So it has worked in Valparai. So the number of human deaths and elephant also hasn't happened in a very long time.
Okay, in Valparai.
Yeah. So this is like a successful thing.
Okay, it's a case study that too should be replicated around
elsewhere.
India. I'm sure this video would be watched by some engineering students,
right,
who want to collaborate and help for cause like yours.
Yeah.
But that's the problem. Like they don't know whom to meet, and but since now you're here,
right,
tell us about what technologies you need in India for your work,
right,
so they can connect with you and build something for conservation thing in mind.
So there is a huge scope, I think, for technology, for being used in our field, in the sense, so AI, you can use different algorithms, because I think engineering students, they learn about machine learning, they learn about artificial intelligence, and how that actually can be used to analyze or model these huge data sets that we generate from our field work, right? And work with us together to come up with models to see what works, what doesn't work, and that can actually be implemented on ground. So that is a huge thing that we have to work together. So as I was mentioning to you about the scientist who works in my university, her students are all engineers.
Wow.
And they're working with...
They also must be having fun to work with the wildlife.
And they're actually working with the data set of these baboons. So she's one of my friends. She's actually an engineer, and she works with this data sets, movement ecology of baboons.
Wow.
And she's coming up with algorithms for that. So but you also need to have some understanding of the behavior of the species. So, just basic reading up should be fine. Reading up on the species, on the behavior or whatever. And then coming up with algorithms, so that would be good. And then there are different ways of using technologies like acoustic. So these days, a lot of researchers and scientists in India, they're using bioacoustic monitoring for conservation. You're trying to capture all the sounds from the forest, from the birds, from insects and everything, and then try to see where the sound is more or where the sound is less, and you can actually get the diversity index from that region based on that,
and also population number.
Yeah,
okay.
probably so if you can get it to that minute detail of the frequency, probably you can do population estimation, probably. I'm not very sure of this, but so a lot of technology can be used, but again, it should be getting permits to do all of that is also quite challenging, to a certain extent. But in India, I think the challenge would be if you want to do something with like invasive, if you want to capture the individual, collect blood, that is more challenging. You don't get normally permits for that. But yeah, answering your question, yeah, technology can definitely be used. A lot of technology, and I think we need to work together more and more.
Yeah.
Because I do not have a lot of idea also about what can be done, and we need to just sit and work together, because we have these data sets, and we don't know what to do sometimes with it, like how to analyze it, or so then we can get advice from.
So another solution for human animal conflict thing is educating people.
Right. Yeah.
That's a very challenging task. So have you tried to educate people on this? Like, what are your initiatives?
Yeah. So when I was working in Tenmala, we had this awareness campaign for local people, because people would constantly they were so intolerant about these primates, so they would come up to us and like, please do something about these primates, take them elsewhere, ask the forest department to just translocate them. So then we had a whole kind of a workshop for them, where we had resource persons come and talk and explain to them in local language, and try to explain to them why we need primates, why they're important, and how we should build some form of tolerance. So in India, I think the problem is we have to also build that tolerance a little bit. So their attitudes should also change. And that attitudes and perceptions we can change by involving them in these kind of awareness campaigns. You can even be very creative about it. Like, so I think one of my friends, she uses a theater-based art to like showcase how primates live in the forest. So she acts like a primate.
Okay.
And then she shows them to the people how and why their lives are important. In the view of the life of the
very
primate.
creative.
Yeah. So you can use all kinds of creative work and come up with different ways to convince people and make them understand. Just
this
so
is
that
a big job, right?
Yeah.
There's a big part of this.
It's a big job. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have questions which I picked up from Instagram from our followers at QuizX. One question is, what are the common misconceptions about wildlife in India?
It's a good question, it's not misconception. I would say people think that they can, as and when they require, as and when they need, they can interact with wildlife, and that wildlife should be fine with whatever humans do. I think this is a huge, I think, thought process that people think that because they feel that they're superior, right? Humans are they have more control over everything that they do. That animals should just leave when they want them to leave, and should be there when they want them to be there. Like they want to feed them because they're alike to God, they're akin to God, but they also don't want them to be there when their personal interests are hurt. So I think that is, a big misconceptions, I would say, in India. It's the way they view wildlife, the way they view the other. They always think that, the basic expectation is that the other should be like me, right? But it's not the case, right? It's never the case. And this also not just comes with, it's not just relating to animals, but also to people. We view the other person as, we want them to be like us, but you can't accept diversity. So diversity is something that is important.
True.
Yeah. So
Now the question is, what to do when a monkey or group of monkeys show up in a village?
good question. Don't feed them.
Okay.
Do not feed them. Do not actively feed them, and try to, at that point, keep your, if you can see that monkey is approaching, lock all your doors and windows. You don't want them entering into your house and then stealing stuff, because that is going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. So just don't engage in any form of interaction, and don't engage in any.
Do not chase them away too.
Do not do anything. They will probably go. If they're not getting anything, they will wait for some time. They might create some ruckus, but they will go eventually. But if even for a moment, if they know they're getting some food sources, they're going to come back. So
Habitualize.
Yes, they'll learn so quickly. They know how to open a bottle, fill, if it's a new bottle also. They know, they're learning very quickly. So any food packet, they'll open the new packet.
Wow.
So they're very quick learners. So we have to also keep that in mind, that they are learning very fast.
We shouldn't teach them any.
Yeah, don't unnecessarily engage with them. So if it's entering a village, if it's entering even in cities, in Bangalore also there are so many monkeys. So don't keep your garbage outside, wet food outside. Try to dispose it off in a good way. So waste management is another huge issue that we can.
Of its own.
Yeah, that is pertaining to this issue.
Is it?
But
Okay.
it's all,
Human influence again.
Yes.
Correct.
So try to manage your waste in a way it does not attract primates.
Now this is my question, a very curious one.
Yeah.
How do you cope with the boredom or frustration of waiting for hours or days to see a primate?
So see, I'm already in the forest.
Okay.
Correct. So there are times when I won't get to see the primate for like 2-3 hours.
Okay.
I won't even find them. But then, you have to just go walking and search of them.
Just sing song and go, or no, silently?
Don't sing song.
Okay, bad
If you
advice.
sing song, maybe then another animal will respond to you.
Okay.
So don't sing song.
Okay.
So that's one first rule in the forest is, do not be loud in the forest.
What are the other rules? Yeah, this is important.
Yeah, don't make a lot of noise.
Okay.
Yeah, don't make a lot of noise. Because don't cause any disturbance. Just try to be. First of all, us entering the forest is actually it is problematic in the sense, we are creating new paths. So some paths in the forest are not created. It's created by us, right? So we are actually making a pathway where plants won't grow anymore. So and then we disturbed sometimes and as field biologists, we can't go to the washrooms. There are no washrooms. So we have to I haven't defecated ever in the forest, but you have to pee. So I have to pee somewhere. So we have to be careful about.
Oh, very challenging. Though.
Yeah, very challenging. It's quite challenging conditions. So so we have to try to be as minimally invasive as possible. And but we also tend to enjoy everything. I see mushrooms growing. If I don't get to see the primates, I look at the ground.
Wow. Okay.
And I'll see mushrooms.
You
I'll
have
see
great
lichens.
distractions.
Yeah, and you get to see something and you observe it, and I'm making observations of them. So I'm always entertained. I'm always keeping myself entertained in the forest, looking at the ground, looking at the sky.
Nice.
Yeah.
So let's end this conversation with the final question. Where do you see yourself in the future? Like, what do you want to contribute to?
So I have this is like a big goal for me.
Okay.
Apart from getting into academia and doing professorship or teaching and doing conservation, I want to establish this lab called the Interconnectivity Lab.
Wow. Okay. Amazing.
Yeah.
Loop me in.
Yes. Where I want to work, I want to have so many people from different fields. We're all going to, this is the hope, to work together in one small landscape, but we understand everything from scratch. From the soil, microbiota, from the fungal interactions with the trees, from the trees to all the species.
Meteorology.
Yes. And climate system, the forest, everything together, but in one place, not too far, but in one place, but we understand everything. And see how everything is connected to each other. But yeah, that's like the big
Your
thing.
dream. Wow, where you want to set up the lab in?
Hopefully in India.
Wow, nice.
Yeah.
Come in.
Yes.
And thank you so much for your time. I think we spent, I didn't know how the time passed,
Yes.
to be honest.
Neither did I.
Very great conversation. Thank you so much for your time, and safe flight for tomorrow, and wish you the luck.
Thank you so much, Clinton.
To have more adventures. Yes.
I had a ball of a time here.
Okay.
I enjoyed having this conversation with you because I really wanted to get all of this information out.
Okay.
And it felt so good.
Okay. Let me know. I'm sure you're gonna go back,
Yeah.
learn more, discover more things.
Yeah.
Keep the knowledge. We'll have a podcast again
Yes.
soon, very soon. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much.